This is Ancient Greek Architecture by Andy, Lily, and Samara. We'll walk you through many ancient Greek buildings such as the Acropolis, the altar at Pergamon, and the general designs of Athens' houses, as well as introduce you to the main architectural concepts used in ancient Greece.
Greece started as a small country in southern Europe. The mainland was a peninsula made up of steep and rugged mountains surrounded by bright blue waters. Most ancient Greeks lived on farms or in villages, which were scattered throughout the land. Many made their living by farming. The soil was rocky, the water was scarce, but they managed. They built steps into the mountains to make surfaces for them to farm on. They mostly planted crops that didn't need much land, like grapes or olives. Most people were separated from each other because of the mountains and the sea, so there wasn't any efficient communication. Traveling on land was hard. It was mostly done on foot or by oxen. Traveling by sea was easier than by land, but it still had its dangers. Because of this, the ancient Greeks started to form city-states, which were smaller areas of people who operated by themselves, having their own government and currency. At one point, there were thousands of city-states throughout ancient Greece. Greece was on water, which gave them an advantage in travel and trade. Along with food and resources, ancient Greeks also traded ideas and knowledge, meaning their society could advance faster. The fact that they were so advanced gave them an advantage in the Greco-Persian Wars from 499 to 449 BCE. They also formed an alliance called the Delian League, where city-states banded together and Athens led them. They were able to build up a massive and powerful navy. At the time, the leader of Athens was Pericles. Athens had its golden age during Pericles' rule. This meant Athens was living in prosperity, and there was time for art and creativity. During this time, they also rebuilt Athens, which meant the construction of many religious buildings. Pericles encouraged creativity, which meant supporting art and architecture.
Ancient Greek architecture was known for many things, including tall straight lines and square or rectangular shapes for their buildings. They created harmony through simple, proportional, and symmetric designs. However, the most recognizable feature of ancient Greek architecture is their use of columns. Columns were built to support structures, but they were also used to show power and strength through the use of vertical lines. They allowed buildings to be held up without use of thick walls that would block light. Ancient Greece had three main orders of architecture and of columns: the Doric order, the Ionic order, and the Corinthian order. Each order has its own style and features. Before we go into the details of each order, let's discuss the anatomy of a column. Columns have three main parts: the capital, the shaft, and the base. The capital of the column is the top of the column. Capitals are often decorated and are the place where the structure they are supporting can rest. Capitals usually have two parts, the abacus and the necking. Doric columns, however, have a third part, known as the echinus. The next part of the column, the shaft, is the body of the column. Greek columns often had flutes, which are vertical grooves covering the column. The last part of the column is the base, which is where the column attaches to the ground. Doric columns were undecorated plain columns with a simple capital. They had no individual base and instead rested directly on a stylobate, which is a long base shared by many columns. Doric columns are thicker than the other columns, fluted, and were primarily used from the 7th century BC through 5th century BC. The next order we'll talk about is the Ionic order. The Ionic order originated in Ionia during the mid-6th century BC, but the earliest known use of the style was late 7th century BC. They have elegant, slender proportions, and unlike the Doric, they do have bases. They have decorated capitals, usually in the form of a volute, which is the shape of a spiral scroll. Lastly, Corinthian columns originated in the city-state of Corinth. They are similar to Ionic columns in that they have slender proportions and bases, but what mainly differentiates the two is that Corinthian columns have elaborately carved capitals, usually with nature designs like leaves and other plant matter.
Breaking news! The first brick on the Acropolis has been laid. Today, July 28, 447 BCE, amongst the festivities of the Panthenaec festival, Pericles' grand plan has finally been set into motion. The plan for the final design includes many temples, highlighting the Temple of Athena Parthenos. The final design includes many columns and many different styles and designs. The word Acropolis is derived from the Greek word akros, meaning high, extreme, or edge, and the word polis, meaning city. The Acropolis is surrounded by walls, the first of which was created to protect the home of a Mycenaean ruler during the 15th century BCE. After the Mycenaeans left, the Athenians came in, and in the beginning of the Athenian Golden Age, the statesman Pericles started building a project that would add many grand monuments to the land of the Acropolis. Pericles gathered many exceptional architects and sculptors to work on this project, such as Callicrates, Nescales, Euchenlos, as well as the sculptor known to be the best in the ancient world, Phidias. Most of the surviving temples were made of marble, which had to be dragged from a nearby mountain all the way up the hill to the construction site. Another important building on the Acropolis is the Erechtheion, a temple dedicated to both Poseidon and Athena that features the Porch of Maidens, which are 6 Ionic-style columns carefully sculpted to look like women. The smallest temple in the Acropolis is another one of the most famous, the Temple of Athena Nike. This temple is covered on 3 sides by intricate carvings of Athena and Nike.
Welcome back. I'm here with Dr. Lashansky, a knowledgeable researcher on the architecture of ancient Greece. Welcome, Dr. Lashansky.
Thanks, I'm so glad to be here.
Could you tell us a little bit about the Parthenon?
The Parthenon is considered the most famous ancient Greek building and can be found on the Acropolis. The Parthenon was a really important building for the ancient Greeks. It served as both a shrine to Athens' patron goddess Athena, as well as containing the treasury for the city. It was built to celebrate the Greeks' victory over the Persians and represented the strength of Athens and their cultural heritage.
Wow, what a great building. How did the Athenians show the importance of the building and its architecture?
The Parthenon was built very intricately out of marble. It's made from more than 16,000 pieces that were designed to create an optical illusion, showing the amount of knowledge and manpower that had to go into that building. It was also decorated with really valuable materials such as ivory, gold, and bronze, which just really shows you how important and how valuable this building was to the Athenians.
There is some disagreement about when the Pergamon temple was built. Some scholars say 184 BCE, and others say 156 to 166 BCE. The temple was commissioned by King Eumenes II and designed by Pyromachos to thank the gods for favors. Some scholars then believed it was created as a victory monument after the Pergamons' defeat of the Galatians, Seleucids, and Macedonians. The structure has an open layout of a staircase leading to a sacrificial altar in the courtyard. It was built in the style of the Ionic order. The main attraction is a 132-meter-long and over 2 meters high marble frieze, a sculpted band that features the gods of Olympus, highlighting Zeus and Athena. It tells the story of an epic battle between the gods and titans.
From Greek News, I'm Lily here with Pharamachus, the main architect and designer of the Pergamon altar. Thank you for joining us today, Pharamachus.
Thank you for having me.
Could you tell us a little bit about the history behind this building's creation?
King Eumenes II commissioned it to be built around the same time as the Acropolis was being remodeled. It was a time of change, and this altar was to be seen as a consequential, important new structure. The altar was also a notable project because Eumenes II had it built after his victory in battle against many other groups. That was my inspiration for the sculptures on the friezes.
And what were those sculptures? Tell us more about your inspiration for them.
The frieze on the base of the structure depicts the Gigantomachy, the fight between the gods and the titans who previously ruled, where the gods were triumphant. I wanted to use that idea of triumph and glory of battle for Eumenes II's commission, so I tried to capture each figure with dramatic positions and expressions. There's also another sculpted frieze, placed at eye level in the inner courtyard, that shows the life of the founder of our city, Telephus. The entire construction is in the Hellenistic style.
Most houses in Athens were a relatively simple design. Most were only one story, and only had roofs when they were necessary, in kitchens, storage rooms, and sheds for animals. People with money could also have a bathroom or a lounge. The houses were primarily made of wood, brick, and mud. They had wooden frames that would provide the structure for the bricks, mud, or even seaweed. Some had small windows with no glass and wooden shutters. If you had a house in Athens, it was likely you didn't have a garden, and you provided food for your family mostly by trade or by working as a soldier, banker, or shoemaker. And that brings us to today's sponsor, the real estate industry of ancient Greece. Looking for an affordable home in the city of Athens? Have you ever dreamed of living close to the beautiful Acropolis? Our luxury homes only need to be repaired once every 10 years, and they give you plenty of comfortable living space. Each custom-built home contains between 2 and 12 rooms, depending on your budget. Walls can be made of wood, brick, or even seaweed. You can choose to have a wide variety of rooms, such as an animal pen, a lounge room, or even a bathroom. If you'd like, your house could be a whopping 2 stories tall. We provide the highest quality stone for your house to rest upon, and the sturdiest wood for the frame. Call 555-555-5555 to start your homeowning journey in Athens today.
Greek architecture, with its emphasis on simplicity and proportion, has gone on to inspire architecture throughout history. From the White House to the British Museum, you can clearly see how the modern world is influenced by the architecture of ancient Greece.